Dear presidents, dear citizens of Vilnius, and dear guests, first of all, welcome to Vilnius. For those of you who just came to Vilnius, to me, when I came to Vilnius 25 years ago to study here, for a person from a small provincial town, these colors of Vilnius, the diversity of Vilnius was so inspiring. And just later on, just several years after, I realized how much more inspiring it would be or would have been if we had the same diversity as we had a century ago. And I'm proud, again, to be a mayor of the city, which is a cradle of Jewish culture, a cradle of Lithuanian culture, a cradle of Polish culture, a cradle of Russian and Belarusian culture, and also a cradle of Tatar culture. Those are very often being forgotten, so it's a big honor for me. I was asked to speak in Lithuanian, so I'll switch to Lithuanian now. Okay. Gal galima kitą. Some misunderstandings with the presentations. Atsiprašau. Iš tiesų, didžioji sinagoga nėra vienintelis objektas Vilniuje, kuris yra aktualus mums, Vilniečiams, miesto svečiams, ir noriu pabrėžti ir lietuvių bendruomeniai, ir Lietuvos žydų bendruomeniai taip pat.
That it is important to the Lithuanian and Jewish community. I would like to offer some contexts about Vilnius and things that must be done when working on the revival of the Jews. Synagogue. The Vilnius Jewish Quarter, and we talk about it as some old times, but actually I'm residing in a house built by Jewish hands. So when we're talking about this quarter, it's a very important part of our history, and we have to make sure that we commemorate that. And all these small maps and names of streets, and looking at various important people of the northern Jerusalem. We have Gaon sculpture and Roman Gary and others, but we still need to have more. So it would be felt by someone who would come and visit and understand that this is the city that was created also by Jewish hands, and I think we don't have enough of that. And one of the symbols that could be used, which is not material, but some while back was given the honorable citizens' name, and we'll have the ceremony. I believe that this is very significant. Going to these material objects, I should also see that the synagogue at the cultural center, it is the main object, but natural to life that, of course, cemetery is something that needs to be given even more respect. And we have 3 cemeteries, Jewish cemeteries, one which is still active and 2 historic ones. And it used to be as if a headache, and we tried to escape this headache in all ways possible. But we need to look at this issue very simply, that we show Tušnipiškės and we can see what they looked like before, and Olandai Street Cemetery. They need to be given attention to restore respect. So I'll start with Olandų Street Cemetery. And the most visible thing is that people don't necessarily understand that this is a cemetery yet. And due to a lot of help, now it looks much more like a cemetery. And this piece of ruin is important because it was upholstered by tombstones used from the cemetery during the Soviet times, and these stones were taken down in these days and taken back to the cemetery where they should remain. Talking about the Šnipiškės Street Cemetery, which is also very emotional, we know very well the history. The Tsar built a castle, and then it turned into a fun house. It's a building that it's not supposed to be there, probably built in the middle of the cemetery. And what is municipality doing here? We are trying to implement the project in order to mark that it will be very clear that you're entering a cemetery, which is very important for many reasons. So people would not walk their dogs, and you would understand that this is the place which is holy. And in the Jewish culture, a cemetery is a place of respect, even more so than in the culture of Christians. Sometimes I still get questions why there is no more this parking lot there that used to be there, and we explain it to people, and it becomes clear why. Talking about the Great Synagogue, many of us have seen pictures. This is not something unknown. This is not a legend. We're talking about very specific things, and we should probably look at these grayish buildings. The darker buildings are still there, and others are non-existent. And when we talk about the revival of this place and commemoration of it, we get a very practical question. What does that mean? Because we have a spectrum of opinions, starting from we have to demolish everything that built during the Soviet times, and the Vokiečių Street buildings would have to demolish because some buildings are not supposed to be there, but others say that we should leave everything as it is. So the truth is somewhere in the middle, and probably we can't do everything we want, but most importantly, what many speakers underline, and I've been to the archaeological excavation site, and we're very happy about the works that helped us to discover a lot of facts, and we're very happy that not everything is lost. And we found that some plans and facts are not actually the same, and discoveries are numerous, and the archaeological reports are going to be very interesting. And one thing which is very clear, this view is not supposed to be as it is. We do agree on that very clearly, and I would like to hear your opinion if it differs from mine. But I should say that if you agree with me, we would step forward being even braver. This is not something that should be seen, but the question is how to arrive to something different. And I'm going to talk about the plans and the insights of the municipality, what we're trying to do. Up to June of this year, that was a primary school, Vita Namonėlis, and they moved to another premises. There's another school building that they were moved, and children are enjoying better premises, better facilities. And we've talked quite a lot with the Lithuanian Jewish community. about the urgency and the fact what should be done, and Lithuanian Jews underlined that maybe as Vilnius is lacking kindergartens, we could use still this building as a kindergarten, and we are renovating this building and to be used as a kindergarten, but it is not planned long term. In 2023, Vilnius is going to be commemorating 700 years of establishment. This is the symbolic historic date that should already see a completely different picture of this place. We have plans, and we are hoping to build a kindergarten somewhere else, and children would move from this building, and this building is named as temporal. Technically, maybe it's not temporal, but morally it's more than temporal. There's nothing to save and safeguard. It needs to be demolished to provide a possibility to make the analysis of the remains of the synagogue underneath, and the kindergarten is wider than the synagogue, but the front and of the synagogue comes out. But maybe Soviets did that on purpose, building it on the foundations of the synagogue to erase the memory. But our plans are very clear, and I hope that you agree to them. The question is how to do that and what it should look like. This is a more realistic picture that helps us see the former Vokiečių Street and Žydų Street, which leads towards the wall of that building. And maybe that was symbolic. And there was no possibility to continue walking. Basically, you faced a wall at the end of the street, and that was done to erase the memory of the Jewish quarters. And we can see in the middle the arch that you used to be able to walk through, but no longer now. But around the kindergarten, we are making these, we are getting these archaeological excavations being made. In the other part, we see another place used by people, but that's a yard, a courtyard that has a lot of attention from the municipality, and cars are no longer chaotically parked there. We are going to resolve this issue, and waste is going to be sorted, is being sorted. But this place needs to have two functions. First, the place to commemorate the synagogue, and other, as this is one of the largest courtyards of Vilnius, something should be left there for people. So on the right-hand side, we can see this is a place of community with maybe parking places, and a place for children to play. And the place where the synagogue used to be is no longer a courtyard, it's a commemoration site, and it needs to be marked as such. And talking about Celazak project, I believe we had a competition 28 years ago, and a lot of new things were found. And I know that Honorable Sila loves the project, but it's very natural that we have to look afresh at what we have for today. And as I said, it's only natural that we're going to move the kindergarten up to 2023, and this commemoration of the synagogue and embedment needs to also done very smoothly. And we're not talking about just stones. We can have various ideas. We've talked with members of the Jewish community. We have a beautiful Jewish school which doesn't have places. Maybe we could have Jewish kindergartens. These are ideas that don't have to be implemented because, of course, there are other alternatives, but clearly this place should merge together the history and the present, and the information stand is not sufficient, of course, and one way or the other this place needs changing. What do you expect from this workshop and the further process? I hope to hear from this workshop some more opinions and ideas, what should be made in the place of commemoration and what should not. It should not be a commercial project. I keep hearing that, and I do agree, and that it should be something linked to the living Jewish community, and I believe that these two important issues to remember for the project, and all the opinions that we should do and we shouldn't do with the commemoration side would be very valuable, as well as insights on how to organize the process. We still have time, but not for waiting, but for clarification. What international competition, procurement, what exactly do we want to see there? Some culture together with some commemoration. And we need to discuss that, which means that it would help us arrive to the objective of 2023 and having the celebration of the city with the place looking the way it should. Thank you.